Hello everybody, back again with another video. Hope you're doing well. Hope your life's going well. Hope this week has gone well for you. And I hope that today has gone well for you. Today is Sunday, November the 17th, 2024. It is about 4:26 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I hope that you all are having a wonderful Sunday. I hope it's been a relaxing Sunday for you. I hope that it's been a productive and fun weekend for you overall. As for me, I'm doing good myself. I'm here in my car again. I was gonna do this video outside, but for some reason, I don't know if it's because it's been raining recently. Actually, that's probably the likely reason, but there's just been a lot of mosquitoes out lately, and it's like I can't really do a video outside where there's a bunch of mosquitoes out because I'm not trying to get bit up like crazy while I'm doing a video. And so if I'm gonna go out of my apartment to do a video, it's going to have to be in my car until these mosquitoes actually go away. And then also too, it's kind of been raining off and on as well. It's pretty overcast right now. Got some rain earlier, and some heavy rain earlier actually, but it was forecast to rain off and on anyway, so that's kind of what we've been experiencing, at least today. Later on this week it's supposed to get cooler as well. Maybe when the cooler air comes in, that'll get the mosquitoes to go away, because it's cool, but it's not cool enough to where the mosquitoes can go away. Because when it's too cold out, you're not gonna get mosquitoes, but it's not quite cold enough for the mosquitoes to go away just yet. So yeah. So what I want to talk about in this video is the reason why I believe that journalism is dead. And this has been something that has been echoed by many people in the past, right? Some people in the journalism industry, right? They have stated that journalism is either dying or it's already dead. I think, in my opinion, it's dead for a few reasons, right? Part of the reason why journalism is dead, based on what I have seen, is, and I'm talking about, when I say journalism, I'm talking about traditional journalism, right? And I actually have the definition of journalism written down, right? And I just typed in journalism definition in Google, and this is what I got back. So what is journalism, right? So journalism is the process of gathering, verifying, and reporting on information that is important to the public. It can also refer to the news and information itself. Journalists are expected to, number one, maintain an objective mindset. Number two, conduct research. Number three, check facts. Number four, present accurate reports. Number five, inform rather than to persuade their readers, right? And this is what I mean when I'm talking about traditional journalism. This is, for the most part, dead, because you just don't see that many journalists trying to report the news accurately, unbiasedly, without the sensationalism, the exaggeration, all the things that news is, that you see, news doing nowadays. A lot of these stories that you see on television, they're biased. There's sensationalism, there's exaggeration, there's straight up lies, right? Most people do not trust the mainstream media nowadays. There are not that many people that actually trust the mainstream media, right? Like you would ask, if you were to ask a random person on the street, do you trust the mainstream media? Their likely answer would be no, right? And there is a reason for that, right? Like I say, just all the bias, the exaggeration, sensationalism, that in and of itself is the reason why people don't trust it, right? And the fact that you need organizations that are dedicated to fact checking, right? That goes to show that there's just a lot of lies in journalism nowadays. And the thing about what journalists have to do nowadays, journalists have to keep up with what people are doing on social media, because a lot of people are getting their news from social media. Social media is one of the top news sources for many people now. And what does social media do? They get you to click on a story, right? Or they will report on a story using sensationalism, clickbait, exaggeration, etc. That's what you see with some of these stories on social media, and that's where people are going. But then you also have a lot of people on social media that do try to, dedicate themselves to figuring out facts, reporting unbiasedly, reporting objectively, right? And we can make the argument that there's a lot more journalists online who are trying to be fair and objective journalists than you see in mainstream media. And mainstream media, they have all these biased stories, people who write like biased news articles for them, where they're not objective, they're not fact checking, they're omitting actual context. Like, how news stations, like a lot of these mainstream media stations, they will play one little like clip, 10, 15, 20-second clip of somebody saying something, and take it completely out of context. And that's just not journalism, right? That's not true objective journalism. True objective journalism is either playing the clip in its entirety, which is the best way to do it, or if you're going to play that 10, 15, 20-second clip, actually explain the real context. Don't just be like, okay, here is a 10-second clip, and now we're going to just go based on word for word what they said in that 10-second clip with zero context. That's what a lot of these mainstream stations do, and that's one of the other reasons why people do not trust mainstream media and why traditional journalism is dying, because you just have all these people that actually they report like this, like real biasly. And the thing about it is, reporting this way, it'll get you clicks, right? It'll get you views on your whatever media source it is, whether it's the internet or the television, but it's not true journalism. It's not traditional journalism that's objective, right? Remember, obtain with objective mindset. That is one of the things that you have to do as a journalist. Check facts, inform rather than to persuade their readers or the people that watch them. You don't see a lot of journalists doing that. And the people that call themselves journalists that report this way, with all this bias and exaggeration, those aren't what you would call a traditional journalist, right? And so, and then, the market for journalism, too. I mean, let's be honest. How many people truly want unbiased news? There's a market for it, but for many people, when I really thought about it, for most people, I would say the majority of people, just a regular old article that's unbiased and objective, for many people that's boring. And a lot of news outlets understand that, people, they don't, a lot of people don't necessarily have the attention span to just read through a boring article. And that is due to social media ruining our attention span, right? Our attention span is very low as humans because we have things such as TikTok or Instagram just constantly feeding us these quick dopamine hits. And so what that does is it lowers our attention span greatly. And so people just are not going to be willing to sit down and read a long, unbiased, objective article about a story. I mean, there's going to be people that do, but it's not enough people to keep these news stations profitable, which is why a lot of these news stations, a lot of these newspapers, they have been laying off writers like a lot, right? And for many writers, it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle trying to find stable work, because a lot of these news stations, they're not hiring just regular old writers anymore. They're laying them off, right? And then what doesn't help as well is the fact that, and I've heard of this recently, is you have a lot of, well, I don't know if it's a lot of news outlets, but you have some news outlets that are writing their stories online, their articles online with AI. So you don't have an actual person actually writing the story. It's a AI program that's basically writing the story. And you have to remember, with these AI programs, they can word it to where it sounds like someone, like an actual human wrote it, but it's really an AI program that wrote that story. And so with AI, I mean, what do you need an actual writer for? What do you need to pay an actual writer for when you have AI that can write an article for you? That's something else that's putting traditional journalists out of business, right? An AI program can pretty much write a story like a journalist would, a traditional journalist would, and then they can write a story that has bias if that's what the human that's operating an AI program intends on. The market for a traditional journalist just is not necessarily there. Someone who's reports fair and objectively, people in general, they just, there's just not enough demand for it, right? And if in the demand, and for people who want to see that, I mean, you can get on YouTube and be a journalist. You don't need a college degree to be a good journalist. All you need is these attributes, right? Maintaining an objective mindset, conducting research, checking facts, present accurate reports, inform rather than persuade. Someone who wants to get on YouTube and do this can do this without any sort of formal college education, right? And so now traditional journalists have to compete with journalists on YouTube, journalists on TikTok, Instagram, right? They have to compete with people online, right? And so that's what's making it difficult for journalists, and that's what has pretty much made journalism dead. Traditional journalism, right? Newspapers, people don't read the newspaper anymore. Newspaper, that used to be one of the biggest sources for objective journalism, right? Where you just get the news straight, no bias, no exaggeration. And there was a huge demand back when newspapers were popular for objective, fair reported news that actually had all the facts and presented them in the story accurately. It was written in the story accurately, right? It's just something that is not, it's not something that's in demand anymore. And not enough to keep these newspaper companies in business, at least. I mean, there is demand, don't get me wrong, there is demand for traditional, accurate journalism. It's not enough to keep these companies in business. It's just not. So yeah, profits. Traditional journalism just doesn't bring in enough money for these companies. And now traditional journalists have to compete with social media, journalists on YouTube. People's attention spans got lower, and so that's just kind of what happened, And that's why I do believe that journalism, traditional journalism, is dead for the most part. But yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts on this whole situation. I don't even remember the last time I sat down and watched a mainstream media news program. I just don't even remember the last time I did it, right? I get my news from social media, YouTube, etc. And if it's important enough, I'm going to find out one way or another. I don't need to sit down and watch mainstream media to be informed, right? And a lot of these mainstream media sources, they're not there to inform anyway. Like I said, a lot of them are very biased. They don't have traditional journalists working for them anymore, right? And so, yeah. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have had a wonderful weekend.